Can't you just feel the energy kicking up in the world of New York sports? Both the Jets and Giants reporting for practice. You got little bits of news about hockey and basketball coming out, and we've got a Subway Series going on. And if you're a Mets fan, you're enjoying it. Yankees fan, not so much, but there's still a game to salvage tonight possibly. So we got a whole lot to talk about. Plus, we're going to make our season predictions for the 2024 NFL season. We're going to talk standings. We're going to talk each team's individual record, playoff predictions, awards. We're going to get deep tonight, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. It's Wednesday night, and you know what's up. We are live. Welcome everybody into New York Sports WickerMedia. I am your party host, Wa2K99, and I thank you as always for taking the time to join me, whether live or not so live. I appreciate everybody checking it out. The channel is growing. We're at 940 subscribers, on our way to 1,000. So if you like this channel, if you like America, even if you don't like me, but you still like America, share it with a friend who just might. And let's keep this thing going because, hey, I love doing this stuff for everybody. But, hey, the bigger the audience, the more I want to do it. But we're going to keep doing this Wednesday night thing because, hey, we've been doing it together for a full year now. A whole year. This is, I think, episode 52, I think we're up to now. Right around there. But I know the show started last July. And, hey, hopefully only getting better from here. All right, guys, so here's what we're going to do tonight. To give you a little rundown of what to expect, we're going to do our 3 and out as we always do. Then we're going to get into some Jets news, the Jets news of the week. And all of a sudden, there actually is going to be news now that training camp is officially underway. And then we are going to make our predictions for the 2024 NFL season. That's right. On July 24th, we're going to go out on a limb and see what we could do. We're going to make those predictions. Every team's record, who makes the playoffs, every single playoff match. We're going to break all of it down. All right, so let's first of all talk about what's on my mind right now in a little bit of what we like to call 3 and out. So the first thing I want to talk about, a little bit of New York Rangers hockey, in specific forward Alexei Lafreniere, the Rangers' dynamic young forward. And the reason why this is pertinent information, a big topic right now, is the LA Kings a week ago today actually, signed forward Quinton Byfield to a 5-year, $31.25 million extension. So a little bit over $6 million a year. And it's important because Byfield was drafted 1 spot behind Lafreniere. Byfield, 2nd overall. Lafreniere, 1st overall in 2020. Byfield scored 20 goals and 35 assists in 80 games. Now, the reason that's important, that could set a precedent for Lafreniere's next contract. Last year, Lex had 28 goals and 57 total points. So slightly better numbers than Byfield, but Lafreniere also had 8 goals and 14 points in the Rangers' 16 playoff games. Now, the situation with Lex's contract is this. He's got 1 year left on his bridge deal. He makes just $2.325 million. Very, very low amount. The expectation is the negotiations will start next summer in 2025 when he's a restricted free agent. That concerns me because the Rangers are taking something of a gamble, not trying to lock Lafreniere up and playing alongside Vincent Trocheck and Artemi Panarin He put up amazing numbers. No reason to think he won't do the same thing next year. Now, the priority this offseason for the Rangers should be Igor Shesterkin. They need to lock him up to a long-term deal because with Shesterkin, he's an unrestricted free agent next year, whereas Lafreniere would be restricted. So that's the big difference. But if the Rangers could lock both players up, it would go a long way towards locking up their core for the next 5+ years to come. All right, so a couple quick hellos in the chat as the people are starting to drift in, as they're on their way home from work or they're home in the gym, whatever they may be doing. The great Jets Mess channel member, the very first channel member, those are available for $5 a month. Get some really cool emojis. I give you a shout out at the end of every video, so you do get the recognition. Also, Tony Alexio, the biggest Chris Streveler fan in the whole wide world, is here. Tony, I'm glad you're here. Harlan Abraham, one of our most well-seasoned Jets fans, typically the voice of reason, the voice of wisdom. Harlan always brings, he brings his opinion to the table, and I'd say about 98% of the time I'm with it. So I definitely appreciate Harlan being here. And the great Scott Foster, good to see you here. I appreciate you being here tonight. All right. Yep, we got fans pretty much everywhere right now. We got New Jersey, Florida. I think Arkansas is dropping in, trying to get some of the local North Carolina down here to get into it. So got to hook up with some Jet fans down here. All right, topic number 2 for the 3 and Out. I'm going to talk a little New York Knicks, in particular Tyler Kolek, the backup point guard that they drafted from Marquette this past draft. Now, the Knicks wanted Kolek, and I did not think the Knicks would get him, but they got him with the 34th pick from Portland. They traded multiple second-round picks. Oh, Scott's from California. Scott, I didn't know you're in California. Awesome. But Kolek has emerged as maybe the bright spot in the Knicks Summer League. In 5 games, he averaged 9.6 points, 3.4 rebounds, 7 assists, shooting 36% from the field and 31% from three-point range. Against Sacramento, had 21 points, 8 assists, 4 rebounds, the game-winning layup, and free throw at the buzzer. He's got like this mop of hair. He's short, he's white, he's left-handed. So he stands out on an NBA court. That's all I'm saying. But he plays with just a frenetic energy and relentlessness that the Garden crowd is going to love him. Here's the question, though. Does Coach Tom Thibodeau expand his rotation to accommodate a 10th player? Because we think about what the Knicks rotation is going to look like this season. Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, Mikal Bridges, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, Deuce McBride, and the mystery center that I'm still convinced they're going to get somehow, some way. I don't think it's going to be Jericho Sims. I think the Knicks will bring somebody in, whether it's Precious Achiuwa or someone else. But that's 9 players right there. Okay, so will Thibodeau expand it to 10? Because we've seen him limited to as little as 8 sometimes. Will he actually make room for Kolek to play, even if it's just 10 minutes a game? I hope he gets that chance. But we talked about campaign, presidential campaign last week, signed for the veterans minimum away from Philadelphia to sort of take that job. But I think it's going to be a dogfight in training camp, Kolek versus Payne, to see who backs up Jalen Brunson. But the beauty of it is the Knicks do not have to play Brunson 45 minutes a game. They can rest him up, give him some time, a little bit of downtime during the regular season to make sure he is as fresh as possible for next year's playoffs. And another note with the Knicks, this just came down today. Coach Tom Thibodeau signs a contract extension for 3 years. He had 1 year left on his deal. Now he's here through the 27-28 season. I think it's very well deserved. I've always liked Thibodeau. I don't care that he's the least popular coach to play for. It doesn't matter what somebody on the Sacramento Kings or the Houston Rockets or the Memphis Grizzlies thinks about Tom Thibodeau. All I care about are what the 12 players on the Knicks think of him and do they want to play for him. Nothing else matters. Tibbs is 5th in Knicks history with 175 wins. And the Knicks have finished at least 10 games over 500 in 3 of Coach Tibbs' 4 years at the helm, including a 50-32 record last year. That was the Knicks' best single-season record in over a decade. So I'm very happy that Tibbs will be staying around for a while. And now let's talk just a little bit of baseball, why don't we? As a matter of fact, you know what? I'm going to get out of the wicker chair for just a minute, and let's put ourselves in the Bronx. There you go. A little more color in the background now. Now, I did do a recap video on the first Mets-Yankees game in the series last night. You can check that out if you wish. But credit to both bullpens for coming through in big spots. It was not a pretty game. It was not a clean game, but it was a very tight, dramatic game. Super, super exciting. But the Mets, here's the thing. Even though the Mets won, they have not been hitting outside of since the All-Star break, with the exception of Jeff McNeil. The Mets are 5 for their last 52 at-bats with runners in scoring position over their last 6 games, and they are 0 for their last 25 with runners in scoring position and 2 outs. So here's the thing. You can look down on that, and absolutely understandable, but the Mets are finding ways to win some games where the offense is not clicking on all cylinders. So I'm actually encouraged by that. And I got to say this real quick. Luis Severino said, in a text chat, the Yankees had 2 good hitters. Well, they're 2 great hitters. He was right. I mean, what can you say? I mean, you just look at the lineup. Gleyber Torres, hitting hot. J.D. Davis, a cleanup. This Jaquan Jones leading off. Carlos Narvaez, a catcher. He's not even the best catcher named Narvaez in baseball. Oh my gosh, did he look overmatched? Unbelievable. So, hey, we'll see what happens in Game 4. It is Sean Manaea for the Mets going against Garrett Cole of the Yankees. Cole's been really good ever since the Mets kind of beat him up a couple of weeks ago. So let's see what happens. I hate to ever say a game is house money, but the fact that the Mets have won the first 3 of 3 games from the Yankees, you'll certainly sign up for that. But I said going into this, in the 6-game stretch, 2 against the Yankees on the road and 4 against a beat-up Braves team that's barely leading the wild card race right now, by just 2 games over the Mets as of right now. I wanted 4 of those 6 games. They're 1-0 so far. Let's see what happens. All right, guys. So I'll tell you what. Let's flip the mood right now. Let's switch over into MetLife Stadium. Let's add a little more green to the atmosphere. And we are going to talk a little New York Jets football. So, you know what? A little more green. I think you guys know what I'm going to do. Let's pop in the green. That looks so much better. So everybody, I want to hear you. No matter where you are, say it loud, say it proud, let it go. That's right. Time to talk a little New York Jets football. And there's a whole lot of news to talk about that kind of, relates to the Jets. Maybe not specifically Jet related. So let's talk about the news of the week for the New York Jets. So the classic uniform is coming back. That was announced pretty much with there really wasn't any anticipation this was going to happen. We knew the Jets were bringing back the old school Jet logo from the 80s, which I think almost the entire fan base is very excited about. But the Jets are going back just a little bit further in the archives with a uniform that really blends elements of those 90s teams, the late 90s and early 2000s. Yeah, really from 1998 to 2018. It blends that with the Super Bowl era uniform as well. Now, of course, they'll be worn October 14th on Monday Night Football against the Buffalo Bills. I'll tell you what, these uniforms are going to shine in the bright lights of MetLife Stadium with the green lights. It's going to look amazing. So you see the classic Jets logo kind of up top. And you have the striping that really I think only the Jets and Colts had on the shoulder. So you have those stripes. You got the sock stripes as well. The nameplate with the green lines on either side of the player's name, that's there. But the uniform font is a little bit thicker than it was before. If you go back and look at the Jets Super Bowl uniform, like the 12 on Joe Namath's uniform and everything like that, the piping on the jersey numbers was a little bit skinnier than these are. So this is where you start to get a little bit of the blend also with the more recent uniform. Okay, and so then the face mask is gray, which I think is really cool. There's something about the gray. I'm glad they didn't go black or white with this. I mean, green you could have made an argument for, but I think the gray looks pretty sweet. And of course, you got the current legacy green as well. Sort of that green that's in the middle of the Hunter green and the Kelly green. And personally, this is my preference on the green right now. I like that sort of dark green, but not swamp dark green. So I think they look incredibly sharp. Again, I'm going to come back to the same criticism I've had. The only criticism I really have is that you don't see a Jet logo anywhere on the jersey. The only place you see New York or Jets is on the helmet, and I'm just not a fan of that. I wish the NFL logo could be taken off the chest, and you could put like New York or the Jets logo. Just put that right there, and I'd say 10 out of 10. Yeah, but they look really, really good. So I am happy about those. All right, so so Scott is moving from California to Colorado. Good for you. I think you're going to trading in, I guess, sort of the oceans for the mountains. So good luck to you with that. Jetsmith says the Yankees are looking like the Jets. Depends which Jets. I don't. Hey, it's late July. This is our time to be optimistic, right? This is time to be optimistic about the Jets. So I'm not overly worried at this point. But all right, a couple other notes I want to talk about. Shaq Barrett retiring from the Miami Dolphins after 9 seasons in the NFL. And don't forget, Shaq Barrett, his decision really came down to 2 teams he was going to sign with, the Dolphins and the Jets. So he decided just this week that he did not want to play football any longer, and that left Miami with a bit of a hole in a pass rush that I already think has taken quite a loss. Now, Jalen Phillips still excellent at rushing the passer, but they lost a few pieces like Andrew Van Ginkel and people like that. They did bring back Emmanuel Ogbah as a free agent about 2 days ago. So the Dolphins did get him back, but I think it's definitely a downgrade going from Barrett to Ogbah. But essentially, the Dolphins are kind of bringing back what they already had for the most part, even though I think their defense has definitely taken some downgrades. I think losing Barrett is a little bit of a blow, but, Ogbah's a fair replacement, just a fair replacement, but not much more. Now, this might be a little bit of under-the-radar news. Don't know how many people are aware of this, but I think we got to talk about it because this is going to be very, very exciting for a lot of Jets fans. Does anybody know who this is? Name that Jet. Now, this is not the trivia question for tonight, guys. This is actually Trey Dean playing a preseason game with the Jets last year. All right, so we all remember Trey Dean from Florida, the safety, was picked up as an undrafted free agent after the last year's draft, after the 2023 draft. And then the Jets just couldn't they had him on the practice squad for a little bit, but eventually Kansas City signed him away from the Jets and stashed him sort of on their playoff roster, basically is what they did. Really more the practice squad, but they picked him up from the playoffs basically for nothing. Well, Trey Dean was cut this week by the Kansas City Chiefs. He is now a free agent. And remember, we know the Jets safety situation is as up in the air as any position is on this team. You've got Tony Adams, you've got Chuck Clark, you've got Ashton Davis, but there's very much room for a 4 safety, whether it's Jalen Key, whether it's Jarek Bernard-Converse, but maybe the Jets bring back an old friend in Trey Dean. It could happen. Why not? Why not bring him back? Now, does he want to come back to the team that took a chance on him? I don't know. But Trey Dean is back out there on the market. So, hey, the little things, you never know what might happen. So, we'll see what winds up happening. All right. So let's get that. Actually, you know what? I want to talk about one other thing before we get into the main topic of the night. And that is, I want to talk about Hassan Reddick for a bit. So Reddick did not report to training camp. He did not participate. He hasn't really been in the Jets building ever since the trade happened. And this was not the expectation the Jets had when they made this trade. He had told Jets brass specifically he was going to be attending the offseason program. He made that promise to the Jets, and then he didn't. So either one of 2 things happened. He either lied to the Jets or somebody got in his ear and told him something different, that he shouldn't be doing that. So we know that Reddick is making $14.5 million. That is just the 19th highest paid edge rusher, and he's better than the 19th best edge rusher in football. But now he's missing, for every day of practice he misses, he gets fined $50,000. So that's already $150,000 he's been fined. So in just 1 month, he's getting fined $1 million if you do the math, $250,000 a week for 5 days, 4 weeks, that is $1 million. And those fines can't be revoked by the team either. So what are the Jets going to do in this spot? I have still been thinking the Jets have $6 million to work with their salary cap, right? That's it. And to me, at some point, I was hoping they'd add a little more depth on the interior line, because right now, what do you really have besides Wes Schweitzer? I'd like to see them bring back Connor McGovern, but maybe a Brady Latham can step up into that role. I don't know, but yeah, I would like to see more depth there. But if the Jets only have $6 million, maybe they need to use some of that money and give Reddick a little bit extra. But here's the thing. The Jets offered him incentives. They offered guarantees. They gave up a third-round pick. It's not as if the Jets did not want to give him a little bit more security. All right. But as we are here, the first game of the season is still 6 weeks away. All right. I'm not worried about Hassan Reddick. Tony Alexio says this looks like a JD blunder. Tony, get back to me by the last preseason game. If he's not in camp by then, I'll be worried. But you know what? Hassan Reddick is 30 years old. He knows what he has to do. He's working out. It's a contract year. This is not a situation where it's a wide receiver who needs to develop some chemistry with Aaron Rodgers. This is not an offensive lineman who needs to mesh, okay? This is more of a – pass rush is more of an individual thing. It's a little bit more of a single man's game, all right? Almost like, amateur wrestling. So to me, Reddick will be working out as long as he's in camp, like even the week of. I'm going to be fine with it. Okay. If he misses a game against, say, San Francisco, yes, I'll be upset about that. But until about a week before, I'm not happy about it. It's not ideal. But am I panicking or am I blaming the Jets right now? I'm not. I'm just not doing that. I think this gets done maybe right around the Carolina game. The second preseason game, right around August 14th, 15, somewhere around that weekend. And you have to win. And the Jets have said they'll negotiate with him, but he's got to be in the building. So both sides are going to kind of stand back for a little bit. I don't think it gets done this week. But which side has leverage? I think considering that Reddick is 30 years old, he's a speed-focused rusher. This is his last big contract. You know what? He's going to have to give in because he can't be sitting out games in a contract year. That's not good for him. The fines are not going to be good for him. I think eventually Reddick's going to have to give in a little bit. He can hold out for a while, but the Jets still have a good defensive line, still very capable between JJ, Will McDonald, and so on. So it's not ideal, but this is what they have to work with. So yeah, I'm not excited about Michael Clemens getting the extra snaps, believe me, but yeah, but I'm not fretting out over the Hassan Reddick situation just yet. But check back with me in a couple weeks. All right, now let's do a few season predictions for the New York Jets. So we did our off-season prediction recap, and right now I am going to take you through my predictions about a couple of players and see what you think. And then we'll come back to these at the end of the year, and we'll see how they go. I predict, as I just alluded to, in the middle of August, Hassan Reddick will sign a one-year deal with the New York Jets for a little extra guaranteed money and record 7.5 sacks for the season. Harlan Abraham, how about Braden McGregor? Yep, McGregor, Eric Watts, both those guys. Absolutely, there is a chance for them to step in and take a spot. Absolutely, because we know the Jets are going to have likely 10 defensive linemen. That's the way they do things. And there will definitely be some spots up for grab. Between Leonard Taylor, Braden McGregor, and Eric Watts, you got a lot of defensive linemen, young, hungry, undrafted defensive linemen who can take a spot. Here's another guy. Why not bring back Perrion Winfrey? He was here for a little bit, like one game, got hurt, but while he was there, he looked pretty good, and he still hasn't been signed. Maybe the Jets actually bring back Perrion Winfrey for the league minimum. Maybe they give him a chance. He's still only in his mid-20s. Why not give Perrion Winfrey a shot? Just a thought. All right, prediction number 2. I predict Aaron Rodgers sets single-season Jet records in both yards and touchdowns. So to do that, he would have to throw for 4,008 yards. Joe Namath threw for 4,007 back in 1967, and he'd have to throw 32 touchdowns. The Jets' all-time single-season passing touchdown mark is 31, set by Ryan Fitzpatrick. That's basically barely under 2 touchdowns a game. Is there any way that Aaron Rodgers is not going to average 2 touchdowns a game as Jets quarterback with this supporting cast? I don't think so. I think he's going to do that. Number 3, I predict Breece Hall will get 2,000 all-purpose yards. That would average out to 118 yards a game. I think he will be a major threat in the pass game. I still think he is the second leading receiver on this team. And you know what? He's going to get fed. He's going to get fed very, very hard. Jets are down on Malachi Corley and Mike Williams. I understand you're being down on Alan Lazard, but remember, Aaron Rodgers elevates receivers. All right? And I'm still factoring in the running backs. Braylon Allen can catch the ball out of the backfield. Breece Hall can catch the ball out of the backfield. He loves using his tight ends. Ty Conklin, I think, is going to have a bigger year than a lot of people think. Jeremy Ruckert, I'm not making any predictions on that. I think he might be used a little bit more in a blocking role, but he will even throw to Kenny Yeboah. In minicamp, he was showing a good connection with a third tight end. If that sounds crazy, look at some of the receivers Aaron Rodgers has thrown touchdowns to over the course of his career in Green Bay. He elevates players to be better than they are. You just got to give him a little time to throw, and this line could do it. Yeah, apparently Lazard's trying to practice today. Let's see him do it in the games when the pads are on. I'm not pitching my tent with Alan Lazard here. Not doing that. Brownlee and Gibson's son. Jets mess a little bit down on some of these players. I'll put it this way to you. They were put in a very difficult spot where they had to basically take on outside starting receiver roles. But again, who are the quarterbacks? Zach Wilson, Trevor Siemian, Tim Boyle. So how much could you have really expected? And again, there's no reason that a first-year player can't make a jump in year 2. We saw with players like Jermaine Johnson. Just as a first, Ashton Davis, he took a couple of years to develop, but now you have a pretty darn good football player when used properly. And I'm not counting on these guys to be starters, but just to be on the field a couple plays a game and maybe make one big play a game. I don't think that's asking too much. Mike Williams is expected to be ready to go for week 1. Corley, again, I think will be a little bit of an adjustment. But again, when you have a running game like the Jets could have, and when you have effective players, I think you have at least one effective tight end, maybe 2, maybe 3. That's okay. I tell you what. Do you think the Bills' offense is going to stink this year? Who are the players Josh Allen has around him? Dalton Kincaid. What do you have at wide receiver? Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir. Are we really worried about these guys? I don't hear people writing off the Bills' offense the way, so. Ruckert is a good receiver at tight end. Harlan, I like his run blocking the most. That's where I have the most confidence in Jeremy Ruckert. I think maybe he can do it. I think one of the issues with Ruckert, and this wasn't his fault, I think the offensive line was so battered that you had to keep at times another tight end in the backfield to help block. But now that you have practically a offensive line that is about ready to go, AVT and Morgan Moses are doing individual drills. That's a good start. They'll be ready to go pretty soon. You'll have a line that'll have a little bit of time to mesh, and maybe you can get away more often with 5 offensive linemen, and that gives Aaron Rodgers one more receiver to throw to. Think about that. As the offensive line goes, NFL offenses go. All right, number 4, I predict Garrett Wilson will score double-digit touchdowns. Now, he's had only 7 in his first 2 seasons, but the connection is clearly there. And Garrett is going to draw some double coverage. That's my one hesitation. I think he's going to get doubled quite a bit. But then once Mike Williams is ready to go, once Malachi Corley is being used how he needs to be used, and he figures out how to play in the NFL, that's going to be a big thing. And I'll tell you what, Corley was actually being used in motion a little bit in practice today, and that excites me, and I'll tell you why. Aaron Rodgers typically goes for a static kind of an offense. You don't see a lot of motion in the offenses he's run in years past. But the Jets are running some motion today, and I like that because it shows that the Jets are not just going to say Aaron, what do you want to do? We're doing that regardless of the talent, skills of our position players. No, they are also maneuvering this offense in a way to bring the best out of their skill position players. That is encouraging to me. If you're looking for an encouraging sign on offense, I think that's something that not a lot of people are going to talk about, but the fact the Jets might be willing to use some motion is encouraging. Number 5, I do predict, I'm going to go back to what Jets Mess said, I predict the Jets will trade for a wide receiver during the season. I just have a feeling that there will be a point when the Jets are going to need one other weapon, whether it's due to injury, whether it's due to ineffectiveness. I'm not saying who the receiver is going to be, but I think they are making a trade before the deadline. I predict number 6, that Tyler Conklin has the 3rd most pass receptions on this team behind Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. I think Conklin will be used a lot. He's not necessarily a red zone target, but he can stretch the field, and Rodgers will know how to use them. Number 7, I predict Olu Fashanu will play 6 games for the Jets this season. He will appear in 6 games. Number 8, switching to the defense, I predict the Jets will have 50 sacks as a team. Now, in the last 2 years, they had 45 sacks 2 years ago and 48 sacks last season. I think the number goes up this year, mainly because they're going to be playing with leads more than they ever have before. Number 9, I predict Quantez Stiggers, favorite of the channel, will emerge over the course of the season and cement his spot as the number 2 quarterback in 2025, leading to DJ Reed leaving. I think Quantez Stiggers will become a favorite, and he will get a lot of playing time as the year goes on, to where Brandon Eccles will maybe not even be playing. Number 10, I predict, all right, this is sort of a weird one, but I had to make a couple of funky predictions. I predict that the new hip drop tackle rule will cost the Jets a game. That's a random one. But so this whole new rule is when a defender wraps up the ball carrier, rotates his hips, and drops his own weight onto the ball carrier's legs. That now results in a 15-yard penalty and an automatic first down. I could see, I don't know, a Chuck Clark or a C.J. Mosley, maybe even Quincy Williams, one of these aggressive tacklers doing that in a big spot, and it gives the opposing offense new life, and it costs the Jets a game. This new rule is somehow going to screw the Jets up. I could just see it happening. Number 11, I predict the Jets will have 4 Pro Bowlers this year, namely Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Quincy Williams, and Sauce Gardner. And as far as the Jets' record goes, well, you're going to have to wait a little bit on that, because guess what, guys? We're going to make our season predictions right now. So let's do our 2024 NFL predictions. So what we're going to do first is we're going to predict the standings for every single division in the NFL, and we're starting with the NFC, in particular the NFC East. I've got the Philadelphia Eagles winning the NFC East again with a 10-7 record, beating out Dallas by tiebreakers. I do have Dallas making a wild card spot. Behind them, I've got the Giants at 7-10 and Washington at 5-12. I think the Giants were very lucky 2 years ago to win some of the games they won. I think everything went wrong for them last year. I think they'll be a little bit better, adding guys like Brian Burns. I think the combination of Burns and Thibodeau at edge rush will be really, really dynamite for them. Philadelphia, I wanted to give them another win, but I just wonder if they're over the way their season ended last year. We will know very early what the Philadelphia Eagles are. But right now I'm going 10-7. That's as high as I can go with them. Just not ready to trust them. All right. And then, Washington, some people are saying 6-7 wins. I just don't. I've even seen an article how Washington could go worst to first. Please stop. NFC North, I've got the Detroit Lions winning this division with a 12-5 record. And I've got them, by the way, with the number 2 seed in the NFC. Green Bay, I've got a 10-7. And maybe in the surprise, there's always one team you don't expect that takes a playoff spot. I think it's going to be the Chicago Bears with a 9-8 record, and Minnesota, good team, but I think this is a loaded division. I think it's definitely the deepest division in the NFC and maybe the second or third deepest division in football. I think Minnesota finishes 7-10 just because I don't trust their quarterback play. I don't trust Sam Darnold or J.J. McCarthy. By the way, does anybody think J.J. McCarthy looks like Sam Darnold's younger punk kid brother? with like really bad hair. That's what I see. But I think the Bears are ready to take a step up. I think they got a great receiver room. The offensive line is really growing. DeAndre Swift at running back. So you got a very good supporting cast for Caleb Williams. And you got some good pieces on defense as well with guys like Edmonds. Jalen Johnson's a very good cornerback. So I think that Montez Sweat to rush the passer. So I think the Bears are going to surprise some people and get the last playoff spot. And I'm going to give the Packers the 6th seed, the Bears the 7th seed, along with the Cowboys getting the 5 seed. All right, so then we go to the NFC South, and I'm going to give the Atlanta Falcons the NFC South basically by default. Not that I love them, but they have an excellent offense, and I think this division just stinks. Okay, I've got no team disappointed me more last year outside of my own, but no team to me was a bigger disappointment than the New Orleans Saints. I thought the Saints were as big a lock as any team in the NFC to win their division because I didn't believe in anybody else. But hey, Tampa Bay won that division. Give them credit. I don't think they're going to do it again. I've got them at 7-10, and I've got the hapless Carolina Panthers at 3-14. But the Atlanta offense with Kirk Cousins, Bijan Robinson, Drake London, everybody, Kyle Pitts, they just have a loaded offense. And they even have some pretty good offensive linemen as well. So I think Atlanta can routinely put up 30 points a game this year. I can see that happening. All right, so I've got the Falcons winning that division. I've got them with the number 3 seed. All right, and then in the West, I've got the Niners clinching home field throughout the playoffs with a 14-3 record. To me, there is no better, deeper, or balanced or better coached team than the San Francisco 49ers. I've got them finishing 14-3. The Rams at 8-9. I have them just missing the playoffs. I got the Bears edging both them and the Saints out. I can't put all 7 teams into the NFC playoffs that were in last year. I had to switch something up. I've got the Seahawks at 7-10. To me, the Seahawks are just a whatever team. Arizona 5-12. I think they'll be a little bit better now that you have Kyler Murray back and he's throwing to Marvin Harrison. But still, Arizona has a long way to go to be anything of a competent team. And I still am not a fan of Jonathan Gannon as their head coach. Had a good season with them last year compared to what they were supposed to be. I'm just not a Gannon guy, never have been. As much as the players in Philadelphia wanted him out, Arizona hires him right away. All right, so that's what I've got in the NFC. So again, in seed order, I've got San Francisco 1, Detroit 2, Atlanta 3, Philadelphia 4. Those are your division winners. And the wild card, I've got Dallas, Green Bay, and Chicago. So that's what I've got in order. All right, now on to the American Football Conference. And we're going to start with the AFC West. You think I was going to go first with the Jets, did you? No. All right, so I've got the Kansas City Chiefs finishing with a 12-5 record, winning that division by a very comfortable margin. I've got the Los Angeles Chargers of San Diego coming in second with an 8-9 record. Even though I like Jim Harbaugh, I think they have one of the worst, if not the worst group of skill position players in the NFL, even though I do like Justin Herbert. But, yeah, I just don't have any confidence in them at all, even though I like Lab McConkey. But, as maybe your third receiver, then that's something I'm okay with. So I'm not a big Charger backer. Raiders, I've got a 5-12 because I don't believe in their quarterback situation. Good as Antonio Pierce was over a full season, I think it's going to be a little bit different. And I don't think there's a team I believe in as little as I do the Denver Broncos. Bo Nix, Zach Wilson, Jarrett Stidham. The 3 stooges of quarterbacks. So I think outside of Patrick Surtain, I don't know if there's one other player on the Broncos I would take on the Jets. I really don't know. So, yeah, I am not a Bronco fan at all, and I actually am expecting them to finish first overall in the NFL draft standings. All right, so that's the West. I've got the Chiefs finishing with the number 2 seed. On to the AFC South, and I've got the Houston Texans winning it at 11-6. Love the team. Love that young core on offense and defense. DeMeco Ryans, just a fantastic head coach. And you know what? They lost a lot of players last year to injury, like Tank Dell. He'll be back. Throw that in with Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs and John Mechie, guys like that. Joe Mixon at running back. And, guys like Laramie Tunsil on that offensive line. You have some excellent pass rushers, Will Anderson, amongst others. I've got Houston. I've got Jacksonville at 9-8. And then I've got the Colts at 8-9. I like Anthony Richardson, but I still don't know if there's enough around him. I mean, Jonathan Allen, it seems like every year there's new drama with this guy. But, the Colts, they have Michael Pittman at wide receiver, but Jelani Woods is an okay tight end, but he didn't exactly scare me. You're not going to have to necessarily game plan against him. And how much do you believe in the Indy defense, though? Indy has a very underrated – I'll say this. Indy has a very underrated offensive line. Guys like Ryan Kelly, Bernard Raymond, very, very good players. I'm just not sold on the defense, and they do have a pretty tough schedule as well. So I think they're good. I think they're going to be one of those teams that just finds ways to lose close games. And here's the other thing with Richardson. As aggressively as he plays, I could see him getting hurt again. I don't know if Richardson stays healthy for a full 17 games. That's one reason I kind of dropped them a little bit from maybe 9 wins or even 10 wins. All right, number 4, I've got the Tennessee Titans. I just don't see it. Even though they have a very good trio of wide receivers, I don't believe in the team overall, especially compared to these other teams. And I'm still not a big fan of that offensive line. All right, even though I think they did get Joe Alt, just not a Tennessee backer here. Okay, let's go on to the AFC North, probably the best division in the NFL. I think it's pretty hard to deny that. And I've got the Baltimore Ravens. By the way, I've got the Texans at the 4th seed, okay, at 11-6. Number 1, I've got the Baltimore Ravens, and I've got them winning the AFC home field advantage on tiebreakers. So I think the road to the Super Bowl goes through M&T Bank Stadium. And then I've got Cincinnati and Cleveland tied at 11-6. Both taking wild card spots. I've got the Bengals at the 5 seed. I've got the Browns at the 6 seed. So you have some pretty good playoff matches coming up. Pittsburgh, I finally have them finishing under 500. Somebody's got to lose some games in this division. It's not going to be Baltimore. Their roster is amazing. I am just a huge believer in Joe Burrow. And Cleveland, I think, has one of the deepest rosters in the NFL. They have Pro Bowlers. They have at least 5 or 6 legitimate Pro Bowlers at almost every level of that defense. I mean, Myles Garrett, J.O.K. They have an excellent secondary. Denzel Ward. Not that he's better than Sauce Gardner, but Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, Martin Emerson, a fantastic trio of cornerbacks, maybe the 2nd or 3rd best in the NFL, only to the Jets. Now, of course, you wonder about Deshaun Watson, but Nick Chubb is expected to be ready to go, and the offensive line is fantastic. This is almost like that classic Rex Ryan Jets team, ground and pound. That's what it is. We don't know what Deshaun Watson is, but I think Cleveland has enough talent to win 11 games and get a playoff spot. Pittsburgh, I'm sorry. I don't think the offensive line is ready to come together just yet. I think they are a couple of pieces short at skill position. Najee Harris, I've expected more from him. Haven't seen it. George Pickens is fine as a wide receiver, but he's not an all-game threat. Okay, and again, Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, how good are you feeling with them? I feel better about the rest of these quarterbacks than I do with either of them. So I am giving Pittsburgh an 8-9 record. Okay, so then we go over to the AFC East. That's right, we saved it up. Something of a drum roll. So I've got the New York Football Jets, that's right, winning the AFC East for the first time in 326 years with an 11-6 record. You know, they don't have as bad of a schedule as some of these other teams do, for one thing. But again, I love the Jets' depth. At certain positions, it is a little bit fragile, but I think they are excellent at all the positions where you want to be excellent. Quarterback, tackle, edge rusher, cornerback. So I think it's going to be a dogfight going down to the last week or 2 of the season. But Miami has a brutal final 5 or 6 games. And I just don't think Buffalo has enough on offense anymore to support Josh Allen. You know, I mean, we've already talked about some of the skill position players. You know, James Cook at running back. You know, Matt Milano will be back at linebacker. You know, the front 7 is still very good. I think they're still a good team, but they're not a great team. I feel like they are just not what they used to be, and I think they still are close to making the playoffs, but I'm giving Miami the edge in divisional record or conference record. So I'm going to give Miami the number 7 seed in the AFC playoffs. As for the New England Patriots, their defense will keep them in some games, but the offense, there's nothing there that is really going to scare you all that much. Between the line, skill position, certainly not quarterback. And again, it's one of those divisions. You have 3 very good teams, and New England is just going to get beat up on. I would be surprised if they win 2 games in that division this year. All right. So again, to recap the seeds in the AFC, I've got number 1, Baltimore, number 2, Kansas City, number 3, the Jets, number 4, Houston, number 5, Cincinnati, number 6, Cleveland, number 7, Miami. All right. Hey, Nate, how you doing, my man? I'm glad you were able to make it by tonight. We're doing some NFL predictions. We already did our Jets season predictions. So now we're talking playoffs, and we're going to talk awards. So I'm going to get into my playoff predictions in just a little bit. But before we do that, we're going to talk – I'm going to make me a little bit bigger here. NFL awards predictions. So I'm just taking a couple of shots here because, why not? For Offensive Rookie of the Year, I'm going to go Marvin Harrison Jr., wide receiver in Arizona. There's Caleb Williams at quarterback. There's receivers in Xavier Worthy in Kansas City, Malik Neighbors with the Giants, Rome Odunze in Chicago. You got some running backs in Trey Benson and Ray Davis over in Buffalo. Plenty of offensive linemen in Joe Alt and J.C. Latham and Jackson Powers Johnson. But I'm not going to get cute here. That's right. He went to the Chargers. Excuse me. I was expecting him to go there. Latham went there. Thank you very much, Stack. I do appreciate it. But I'm not going to get cute here. Not every catch will be a big downfield play, but Harrison will be making third down grabs over the middle and on the sideline to keep the chains moving. And let's be honest, the gaudy stats always win these awards. And to me, it's Marvin Harrison Jr. He'll be the focal point of the offense. I think I can't see him not winning this. Caleb Williams will come close, but I'm going to go Harrison. For Defensive Rookie of the Year, this one was a little bit more challenging because, there really isn't that standout defensive prospect that was like can't miss. Not like, say, an Aiden Hutchinson was or a Sauce Gardner was or Mario Williams years ago. It took a while before any defensive players started getting drafted. I'm going to go with Quinyon Mitchell from Philadelphia, the cornerback. He has great size, speed, and length. He's going to be a pass breakup machine for Philadelphia, especially as Slay and Bradbury have gotten older. And I think he's going to produce very well, and he will help Philadelphia have a very, very good defense. So I thought about a couple of the pass rushers, but I just got this feeling that Mitchell is going to get it. But again, I just want to do something a little bit different as opposed to Latu or Verse or Mitchell or even Dom C. I was asking some of my friends about it, and Dom C said Braden Fisk, who's over with the Rams, the defensive tackle from Florida State, who we've profiled on the show before. He really likes Fisk, which I thought was like, wow, I like him, but I wasn't seeing him as being on that level quite so quickly. All right, Offensive Player of the Year. I'm actually going to go, believe it or not, I don't want to go with the quarterback. I'm going with Jamar Chase. He's got a lot to prove. He has a contract year coming up. He has something to prove. And now that Burrow is back, I think that they are going to be just next unstoppable this year. I think they're going to be fantastic. I don't know if there's going to be a more dynamic quarterback to receiver combination in the NFL than that one this year, except Rodgers to Wilson, knock on wood. Pray to the Lord. Defensive Player of the Year, I'm going to say Aiden Hutchinson steps up and takes it. I think this year he steps up to that TJ Watt and Myles Garrett level. I just have a very good feeling about Detroit. I think now he's going to come into his own. Comeback Player of the Year. Well, there's only 3 players I think have a legitimate chance. Aaron Rodgers, Joe Burrow, Nick Chubb. I don't think there's anybody else. I'm going to give it to Rodgers out of sentimentality if he plays 17 games, but I think Burrow and Chubb will definitely be right up there with him. MVP, I'm actually going to say it's going to be Joe Burrow. I am going to go ahead and do that. Yeah, over here, it looks like Eminem and Cody Rhodes had a baby, doesn't it? And out came Joe Burrow. So my name is, what do you want to talk about? So, all right, enough of him. But I'm going to say Joe Burrow has a big season coming back from the injury and really helps, along with T. Higgins, also in a contract year, playing on the franchise tag, will help lead the Bengals. I just think that offense is really going to cook this year. All right, and as far as Coach of the Year goes, I'm going with Dan Campbell from the Lions. I felt he was very deserving of it last year. He did not win it, but I think Dan Campbell will be Coach of the Year in 2024. Okay, now on to the playoffs. Yeah, let's add that back in there. Make it a little smaller. Why not? All right, so let's make our playoff predictions, and then at that point, we're going to jump into Jets trivia. Guys, of course, please like the stream if you haven't already. The more likes we get, the more it gets the word out there about the channel, and then we can do the wheel. 15 likes, we spin the wheel. That's how it works. I will keep watch. All right, so let's start with the NFC playoff predictions. So in the first round, in the divisional round, I've got the 2-seed Lions over the Chicago Bears. I've got the Green Bay Packers as the 6th seed, upsetting the Atlanta Falcons in Atlanta. And the 4-5 match, I've got the was that the 4-5 match? Yeah, the 4-5 match, I've got the Eagles knocking off the Cowboys. And so then in the division round, I haven't seen Harry G. Yeah, I haven't seen everybody. Yeah, don't know. Yeah, but we've had a pretty good turnout tonight. Yeah, got 7 people in the chat. Appreciate it. So then in the divisional round, we got the 49ers taking on the Packers and the Lions taking on the Eagles. Niners and Lions host, and I think we're going to get a rematch next year. In the NFC Championship game, I think the Niners and the Lions are clearly the 2 best teams in this conference. Except this year, I think the Lions take the step up. I think they defeat the San Francisco 49ers at Levi Stadium, and the Lions go to their first ever Super Bowl. I think it is their time to be in the big dance. So I got the Lions representing the NFC. And as far as the AFC goes, well, here's what we're going to do. 2C, we get a rematch from last year. Maybe this game will probably be on Peacock also, right? The Chiefs against the Dolphins. I've got Kansas City in what I think will be an amazing game. The New York Jets host the Cleveland Browns at MetLife Stadium in the 3-6 match. And I'm going to pick the Jets to take out the Browns. I think that pass rush will be just a little too much for Deshaun Watson, though Nick Chubb running against us does scare me a little bit, so the Jets better get ahead quickly on that Cleveland defense. But I'm going to give the Jets the slightest of edge by like a 3-point win. And then I've got the Bengals upsetting the Houston Texans in Houston. So I've got the 2, 3, and 5 seeds advancing. So then we go to the division round. I'm going to take the Ravens against the Bengals. So Ravens over Cincinnati, advancing to the AFC Championship game, which they would host. And then in Kansas City, it's Jets versus Chiefs. I think deep down, this is the matchup that a lot of us have wondered about ever since Aaron Rodgers was traded. Ever since the news started to leak out there that Aaron Rodgers wanted to be a Jet, we were thinking, what if he went head-to-head with Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs? So I say it's going to happen at Arrowhead Stadium. Maybe one of the highest-rated games in the history of the NFL, not counting Super Bowls. And the Kansas City Chiefs will get upset by the New York Jets, and the Jets advance to the AFC Championship game. That's right. I've got the Jets winning 2 playoff games. And then in the AFC Championship game, I think the luck runs out. I just think the Ravens are a terrible matchup for the Jets. I think the defense is going to be a little bit too much. I don't know if the Jets are going to be able to handle Lamar Jackson. I'm going to get, and I think the Ravens skill position players have just kind of gotten a little bit better. The offensive line, I think, can handle the pass rush. And I'm going to give the Ravens the AFC Championship game over us. And then in the Super Bowl in New Orleans, Louisiana, I'm going to say in the matchup between Detroit and Baltimore, the Detroit Lions win their first Super Bowl, and it will be an epic celebration for the boys in the Honolulu Blue. All right, so that is what I'm predicting. I think it's going to be a hell of a ride. I know, Scott, I know. I'd have a little bit of objectivity. The Ravens are about the last team I really want to see in the playoffs, and I'm glad they're not on the Jets' schedule. But, hey, if the Jets got there and faced the Lions, I have very little doubt the Jets could beat them. I will say that, if it came to that. All right, guys, well, I'll tell you what. It is 6:54. It's a little bit early, but you know what? The Mets and Yankees are coming on in a few minutes. So I'll tell you what, we are going to play a little bit of Jets trivia right now. And let's see how everybody can do with tonight's question. So I think you kind of all know how this works by now. You've been here. You've been loyal. You've been here. You know the deal. Every single week, I bust open the books. I open up the websites. I do my research, and I challenge you, the most loyal fans and the most loyal fan base in all of the NFL. Just how much do you know about your New York Football Jets? So if you are ready, and I know you are, enter the Jets Labyrinth, and let's play trivia. All right, well, we got a brand new slide here that we have added to the mix. Tonight's question, I may not be able to add the music, but it does add just a little bit of suspense to the question tonight, doesn't it? All right, guys, so I'm going to give you 5 minutes. Throw your answers there in the comments. I will be watching. Last week we knocked the question out pretty quickly, and let's see how we do this week. Now, we talked a little bit earlier about Trey Dean being a free agent again after Kansas City cut him. Hey, maybe Trey Dean has the game-ending interception against his old team in the playoffs for the Jets against Kansas City. It could happen. But in all seriousness, so Trey Dean will be trying to earn a spot back in the NFL. And once he's there, hey, he's going to try to elevate himself to the highest level, maybe even a Pro Bowl level. And if he were to do that with the Jets, he would be in select company. Tonight's question, name the only 2 Jet safeties to ever make the AFC Pro Bowl team, and your time starts now. All right, so 5 minutes are on the clock. So only 2 Jet safeties have made the AFC Pro Bowl team. And I'm not including there's a couple of borderline players like Daynard Paulson, Bill Baird, the guys like in the late 60s. They played both positions, but I'm talking like legit, no questions asked safeties. Oh, we got Ryan Jett here. How you doing, man? Glad you were able to stop by tonight. He is going with Jamal Adams. Is it Jamal Adams? It sure is. Yep. Adams, I believe, in 2019. And Ryan Jett, dude, were you looking this up? That's exactly right. LaRon Landry. Yep. Let's give you the good one. Yep, LaRon Landry in 2012. And Jamal Adams in 2019. Fantastic job. This was the Ryan Jett Show tonight. So, Ryan, hey, take a bow. Man, fantastic job tonight. I didn't know if people were going to get LaRon Landry, but yeah, Ryan just knocked that one out of the park. I guess I'm going to have to make it a little more challenging next week, won't I? All right. Yep. Chose a very good time to pull up the show. Well, yeah, well done, my man. All right, guys, so I'll tell you what. Looks like we're a little bit short on the wheels, so we're not going to do that this week. I will say this. It looks like – now, I will say this. Next week is a pretty it's kind of a special day. So, actually, today would have been my paternal grandfather's birthday. Passed away quite a few years ago, about 15 years ago. But today was his birthday, July 24th. And a week from today – is actually my birthday, believe it or not. So we're going to have a little bit of extra fun. Maybe I think I'll have somebody, I think we're going to have a special guest on the show. But I did talk to somebody yesterday, and I think he's very interested. Somebody that I think you've seen on the show with me, but maybe not in a little while. So you'll definitely want to tune in. You won't want to miss it. But I don't want to make next week a solo show. For my birthday. I want to make it a little bit more exciting. So you know what? Next week, tune in 6 p.m. Hit that notification bell on the channel so that you get notified when I go on the air. And I'm excited to see everybody next week. And I hope you will be back. And again, please share the channel with a friend so we can hit that 1,000 plateau. We are very, very close. All right, guys. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to get out of here. It is Mets-Yankees game 4 tonight. Harlan, a week, 31st, but very close. Yeah, unless yours is the 30th. But all right, hope everybody has a fantastic rest of your hump day. Have a great week, and I'll tell you what, I will say, hey, who knows what kind of Jet news we'll have next week. Hopefully it starts with Hassan Reddick signing a contract. But I will see you right back here with more content from you know where. The Wicker Chair. Good night, everybody.